When you hear that music, you know what time it is.
It's finally time to do some dancing.
The waiting is over, and the curtain's set to rise.
The madness has begun.
Hello, friends. Ready to make a few shining moments?
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. In all the years, no one knows just how hard you work.
Oh, he didn't need to do that. He threw it away.
One shining moment, it's all on the line.
Anything is possible.
One shining moment, they're frozen in time.
Do you believe it? A 16 beats a 1.
And the road to it's done. Win or lose, you always did your best. 'Cause inside you knew that it was shining moment you reached deep inside.
Nobody
One
moves.
shining moment you knew you were alive. Feel the beat of your heart, feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest. It's more
What is going on, everybody? Happy Selection Sunday. I am joined here live on the New Era Prep Show with two of my very distinguished co-hosts, my two best friends in the industry. To the left, we got Robbie LaStella from the FAU Owl's Nest, and to the right, we got Isaac Bourne from Mid-Major Madness. They are live from the Big D Dickies Arena out in Fort Worth, following the AAC Championship. Isaac, you can laugh. Gentlemen, how was the tournament? What was it like being out in Texas this weekend?
I'd say it was pretty fun. You've been out here before. I appreciate the conference. I think a lot of the teams here are very talented. It's unfortunate that, early season struggles for a lot of these teams made them kind of devalued in the national sense. But, you really get to see how talented these teams are and the coaches and everything that really goes into these good teams. And it's sad when teams lose for sure, but, that's a cool story as well. You talk to Ross Hodge and hear how they want to, get to a point where they're competing for an at-large. So losing obviously sucks for anybody, but, there's winning too. Even Tulsa winning a game, that was fun to see. And obviously Memphis running through the gauntlet and finally kind of putting the naysayers to bed. And on top of that, they get a 5th seed out of it as well. And it's just it's good for everyone involved, right? The AAC gets respect. The Memphis gets respect. And I'm looking forward to potentially seeing both North Texas and UAB play in the NIT as well. I think if both those squads go in there, both of them have a good shot at winning it. And that gives, as much as people want to devalue it, gives you something fun to go into. But I yapped enough. The man with Mid-Major Madness has stuff to say too.
Feel like this year, obviously, it's a little different from last year. All three of us were in Fort Worth last year. We got to see a 10-seeded Temple team just run through the entire conference before falling to UAB in the final. This year, UAB was in the final, but they were taking on a really good Memphis team, and I think we saw that today. They were down their starting point guard and Tyrese Hunter, but we still saw PJ Haggerty and Dane Danger do what they're really good at in that pick and roll. And the UAB and Yaxel-Lunenburg just did not have a response. I think those quarterfinal games were really fun to watch as well, going back to like FAU Tulsa, FAU Tulane was a really fun game. And then Tulsa versus North Texas was fun until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then Memphis versus Wichita State was every game Memphis played in was really fun, except for some reason the championship game.
I mean, that was a fun game too, and I think that's why Memphis really gets credit for this run, right? There was really no free passes. Really, the only 2 easy wins outside of, playing deaf and blind schools in the non-con is they blew out FAU twice. And other than that, really, their AAC schedule was full of tough games. And they battled through that and won, right? I mean, you look at FAU's run into March Madness a couple years ago, and they just had to find ways to win. This Memphis team is way more talented than that FAU team, in my opinion, 2 years ago, especially without a year of development. And so it's a dangerous Memphis squad headed to, I think, Spokane. Is that where it is? Or Seattle.
It'll be Seattle.
I knew it was Washington. But watch out. Colorado State's a tough matchup, but if they get past that one, I don't see a reason why Memphis can't make a run.
I think also, if we're going to go, we'll go into the bracket a little bit later, but I do like that matchup that the Tigers have in the first round.
Yeah, I definitely think that despite their placement in which bracket they fell in, the West is the bracket of absolute doom and despair, as everybody on Twitter is immediately calling it. We're going to circle back to that. But yeah, like you said, it's not like Memphis. All right, you win the conference, you get a little bit of respect on the national scale, but guess what? You get punched in the mouth by insert high major program really early on the first round. Like Colorado State's a good team, but I like Memphis coming out of that one, and then from there it's just who out of these really good teams who starts beating the hell out of each other and stuff like that. But by the way, Isaac, I just wanted to say you look absolutely dapper today, my good friend. You're looking good. Robbie, you look good too.
I wasn't wearing a suit this year, unfortunately. I forgot to get it from my parents' house. So, you know what? We're rocking the quarter zips after covering FAU the entire year. Kind of rubbed off, I guess. Nice little chill vibes, I guess you could say.
And then, like I said, I always look good. I'm repping the Final Four merch from that FAU run. You know, we had to put on and represent.
Absolutely.
But let's talk a little bit about this bracket. First thing that immediately comes to me before actually diving into the bracket is UNC getting a possible first four in against San Diego State, with their athletic director being on the committee for the selection. Do we think there's any controversy? We're going to jump right out the gate. Do we think that there's any nepotism, controversy, conflict of interest going in with that? Let's talk about Tar Heel Hoops for a second.
I can confirm that there is no controversy going into that whatsoever. As much as I hate the pick, as much as you do, watching the bracket show just a minute ago, they did interview some guys on the committee, and whenever they had North Carolina representatives or any representatives from any school on the bubble, when they had meetings about the bubble, they would force them to go out of the room. So it was something that I'm pretty sure they knew on the CBS broadcast. They wanted to iterate because they didn't want fans to think there was any nepotism, and I don't believe there was. I just think that North Carolina just got the right draw. Unfortunately, West Virginia, I would have really liked to get them in. Boise State, I think, as well.
I unfortunately, disagree about West Virginia. I do think, they had some good wins, but and I don't agree with their reasoning necessarily. I mean, Tucker DeVries' injury shouldn't really affect anything. Really, though, if you look at it, I trust KenPom, and West Virginia is the lowest. No team below them got an at-large bid. And you lose to Colorado, and you have a kind of underwhelming Big 12 schedule, especially later. Look, that's some good wins early on. They beat their best wins. Obviously, they beat Houston and Arizona back-to-back. I believe it was Houston. I think so. And, obviously that happened early in the year, but they didn't do enough in the Big 12 this year. And does DeVries' injury hurt? Yeah, but you know what? I mean, if there was a team lower than them that got an at-large, then they'd have a leg to stand on, but no team in KenPom lower than them got one, so unfortunately, West Virginia, you're out.
They also did mention, those committee members also did mention on the CBS broadcast that Tucker DeVries' unavailability was why they were not in the tournament field, and they said that was something – it actually surprised me.
I disagree.
No, I'm just saying I'm saying it surprised me in just the way that they said that player availability is a factor in these placements. I think that you look at Iowa State, they're one of their top players out as well. So it's interesting to see how Iowa State, they get that 3 line when many thought they might have fallen to 4 with a player out, but you have West Virginia with one of their best players out, and that's the difference between them being in and being out.
We got a little bit of college football playoff action out here. Basically, with the Jordan Travis injury and FSU getting slighted 2 years ago, West Virginia country roads, take them back home. Enjoy the offseason. Are they getting an NIT bid?
100%.
I see, but that's what I disagree with. I think their reasoning for having West Virginia out was wrong. They shouldn't have said that at all. That makes them look wrong. But just look at the fact that they haven't had really many good wins in Big 12 play, and then you add the fact that they lost to Colorado in the Big 12 championship.
And Colorado was awful.
They're the lowest rated Ken Pom team. Should they have got an at-large bid, they would be the lowest rated Ken Pom team with one. They don't have a leg to stand on, injury or not. That's why they should have just said, listen, West Virginia, you stink. I'm sorry. They shouldn't have mentioned the injury.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's better to just go off the metrics as opposed to just solely talking about player injuries, because then it comes into question of if that Cooper Flagg injury was a possible long-term, would it have affected Duke seeding, or why didn't Duke seeding get affected yet West Virginia was out? So, yeah.
Well, I think it did, actually. I think it did affect Duke's seeding just a little bit, because I feel like going into this tournament, Duke did have that number 1 overall seed locked up, but it goes to Auburn. And Auburn falling in the SEC semifinals, and Duke being one of the highest rated teams in Ken Pom history. But with Cooper Flagg sitting on the bench for the ACC tournament and his availability in that first round looking a little bit questionable right now,
he's gonna play.
I mean, maybe or maybe not. It could, with those first round, with those number 1 overall picks, you have to be careful. But his questionable availability might be the reason why they are not the number 1 overall seed. But they're still playing in Raleigh, so they will have an advantageous place to play.
Yeah, definitely. And so let's talk a little bit. We'll start with the South region, because obviously we know number 1 Auburn versus the winner of St. Francis, Alabama State. We can chalk it up as Auburn's going to run the table throughout all this. But an immediate matchup right out the gate that I like is the
16 seed. So
I've got Alabama State.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm running with the SWAC.
Let's go SWAC. But I really like the 8-9 game, Louisville-Creighton. I think this is a game.
What did you say?
Louisville-Creighton.
He just said you just
Louisville.
You just said Louisville?
Louisville. It is not Louisville.
You mean Louisville? I'm a Kentucky native. I know how to say it.
Get out of here, Midwestern trash. Robbie, get him out of here. I'm kidding. Please, you're like the smartest guy in the room. Don't leave. You are quite literally the smartest guy sitting in your room right now. But Louisville versus Creighton. Let's talk about that game, because on one side, as you guys are fiddling with AirPods, I hope you can still hear me.
You want to just keep this? Real quick, we're gonna switch to headphones.
Timeout full.
There you go. We're gonna share headphones.
It's cute.
Wait, no. I feel like
What? It's fine.
there we go.
There we go.
Can you hear us?
I can hear y'all.
Okay.
Are you enjoying your personal space bubbles even
Wait,
more?
switch again. There we go.
There we go. All right. Boom. $1 million setup right there.
All right.
First date action. But Louisville versus Creighton. That's a matchup that I think a lot of people they're going to glance over kind of, despite this being a really good game. Pat Kelsey and friends. He doesn't have a lot of friends because we don't like Pat Kelsey out here. Pat Kelsey and friends, ACC runner-ups, and then Creighton they were Big East runner-ups, or were they? Yeah,
runner-ups, Big East runner-ups.
So both of these teams come so close yet so far in their conference tournaments, don't get the job done. Now they're looking for blood. Can we talk about this game in particular?
I like Creighton in this one. As much as, how do you say it?
Louisville.
Yeah, those guys.
Louisville.
Yeah, that team, the team that wears red. As much as they had a good first year under Pat Kelsey, I think Creighton's a little more battle tested than what I'm gonna call them L's up, saw in Louisville. I think if they do have a chance in this game, I don't know. I like Creighton more, but what do you think?
I think this 8-9 matchup is a matchup of two teams that are ranked horrendously too high than how good they are. I think specifically Louisville going into this tournament, I thought Louisville was an easy 6 seed and 6 or 7 seed at worst. and ranked 13th in the nation. They had a great ACC schedule. Their lone loss in non-conference play was to Oklahoma.
What does a great ACC schedule look like to you outside of
They
playing?
took down Clemson twice, and they also played it
guess.
close with Duke last night. And so this Louisville team they have those quad one wins, but they go into this tournament and they're dropped all the way down to an 8 seed, and it gives them a matchup in that 8-9 tournament where I do feel like it is favorable if they can take down Creighton in that first round. If they can beat Creighton in the first round, they're driving about an hour from where the Yum Center is to take on an Auburn team that is a little bit further from home than they're used to. So it'll be something to look for. I think that if Louisville can win that first round game, obviously Chucky Hepburn is one of the best guards in the nation, and I think Creighton too. They've got Ryan Kalkbrenner, a guy that I don't feel like anyone on Louisville can really stop, and with Coach Greg McDermott at the helm as well. It'll be an interesting matchup, but I don't think anyone stops Kalkbrenner. I'll take the Blue Jays, but I have the Cardinals in the second round if they can take down Creighton.
Good luck with that.
And then moving a little bit further down this bracket, something that stands out to me for not a good reason is the seeding of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, literally 2.5 hours ago, not even, won the Big Ten in very dramatic fashion. Great game. I know you guys were probably not able to catch.
Did not watch that. I saw Wisconsin was shooting 25%, and I decided to not watch that for my mental health.
Decided to look up and watch the game that was playing in front of us.
For mental health reasons, I did not watch that garbage. But anyway, continue.
I was about to say, Badge was not rolling. Shout out Adam Hoff. But Michigan now wins the Big Ten first year in the Dusty May era. They get a 5 seed. I'm not going to dispute the Michigan State one. Michigan State beat Michigan twice, but Purdue gets a 4 seed, and Wisconsin, who literally just lost to them, gets a 3 seed.
Well, you can't have the recency bias. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you can't just look at what Michigan did in the last couple of games and say that they deserve to be higher seeded. Yeah, if that's how it was, then you look at it last year, FAU was higher seeded than UAB, so it's like, you can't just base it off the recent couple games. You gotta look at the full body of work there.
Yeah, definitely. But basically, what I was gonna ask is, I haven't looked at KenPom recently. Unfortunately, I know you guys are avid KenPom users. It's probably your most Robbie, I know you were on KenPom more than you were Canvas.
Yes.
Over the last couple of years. But is there metrics that back that up? Because honestly, for the majority of the season, outside of Michigan State, Michigan looked like they were the best team in the league.
Or Robbie will get KenPom, I'll get Torvik, and we'll show you.
If you're so curious, hold on.
Look at these little nerds go. Do my dirty work for me.
No comment, Christian.
The dogs are barking to Google this faster, gentlemen.
All right, Wisconsin 12th in Torvik. Meanwhile, Michigan sitting at 26th in Torvik. So that's 14 spots difference. I think the Badgers obviously didn't play well today, but I think you look at their body of work. They have a case to even possibly be the same line as Michigan State.
Michigan is 25th in KenPom. Offensive efficiency rating is good, top 50 to top 14 defense. What hurt them? Losses to two bubble teams, Arkansas and Oklahoma. A loss to a non-tournament team who just fired their coach in Minnesota. And then Wake Forest. Those losses hurt as much as, they didn't lose any, G5 games or non-power games. But at the end of the day, those losses hurt.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up and address it. I'm definitely going to clip it and post it on social media because I'm on the Michigan side of Twitter. Obviously, I get a lot of Michigan propaganda on my.
The thing I will say about Michigan, it's going to be a tough game, but if they can get past UC San Diego, I like their odds to make a run in that tournament. They probably should have gotten higher seeded. And then I definitely would say Wisconsin. I think they probably should have been higher seeded than Wisconsin. but it kind of works out in their favor. I don't know if I would like them in Wisconsin, where Wisconsin is in their bracket, but I would like them if they. I mean, UC San Diego, Ken Palm's only got Michigan winning that game by 3 points. I mean, it could be a blowout. We don't know. They're just going off of statistics or how they do it. But if they can get past that one, I like Michigan's odds in that one to make a little bit of a run in their side. But that's how I mean, it kind of worked out a little bit.
And that's definitely something that you and me, or all three of us, can attest to. Is realistically speaking, a Dusty May led basketball team in March, there's not a lot of people that are going to outcoach Dusty. There's not a lot of people or teams that are going to outplay a Dusty May team.
Unless you're Northwestern.
Unless you're Boo Booey and you're shooting the lights out, and that other very tall white kid that was, once again, shooting the lights out. Unfortunately, not an avid Northwestern ball knower. Forgot the kid's name literally 20 minutes after the game. But now taking things over to the East, something, realistically speaking, a lot of these games could be blowouts when you're looking at it. Duke versus whoever they get. I think Oregon's going to murder Liberty. I think.
Say that again? Wait, I didn't hear that. What did you say?
I think Duke's going to blow out whoever they get. I think Oregon is going to murder Liberty. I think.
All right. Well, I agree with you on that one, but we've got the king of the CUSA right here. But he didn't cover the CUSA tourney because who wants to watch?
He went to a real conference.
Who wants to watch that mess?
Agreed.
We'll get into that later.
And then you also got Arizona, who is always a consensus. They might make a run team. They get Akron. And then Wisconsin versus Montana, and then Alabama versus Robert Morris. So on paper, there's a lot of one-sided matchups going into this first round. Realistically speaking, do we think it's going to stay B2A, or do we think that there's going to be people falling into the trap, and then all of a sudden Akron upsets Arizona, or Montana beats the Badgers? Like, what do we think?
Well, I think, a lot of gambling-related people are going to take Michigan minus 3.5 against UC San Diego. But, they got to go watch a game that UC San Diego plays. That game could be within 3.5. But, it's going to be – we'll see.
I think on this side of the bracket, you've got VCU. VCU is a weird team for me because they dominated the A10 this year. They obviously against George Mason today it was a competitive game, but you've got, for me, if you're looking at mid majors, I like St. Mary's as well. But if we're talking about
St. Mary's is a 7 seed compared to Vanderbilt as that.
Yes, but I'm talking about coming out of the region.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But I really don't like the Liberty slander, guys. I'm going to be honest.
Give a case for why Liberty
FAU
couldn't be getting the slander.
FAU gave them the belt, man.
All right, we're going to look at Liberty really quickly.
If FAU gave you the belt, I don't know if you should be playing in March. Nah.
You've got a top 50
this year, man.
Top 50 defense in the nation on Ken Palm. You're going, and you've also got 80th offense in the nation. This Liberty team has exactly what they need to succeed in March. This is exactly what you see out of these Cinderella teams. Obviously, I don't think Liberty has actual competitive advantage to win this region, but I do think the Flames, if they can make their threes, and Caden Matheny if Caden Matheny,
can you pull up Oregon,
and Talon Peter can make their threes, you're going to pull up Oregon, and then you're going to try it to beat me here. But I really think that Oregon, they've got a great offense, they've got a great defense.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to see is how hard they crash the glass.
And that's the thing with Liberty is they're a team that definitely lives and dies by the three ball. That's honestly what helped us against them is their three ball was not hitting all too crazy. So that's another thing. If Liberty gets hot, definitely I think the Flames are a very dangerous team, but they're such a one-dimensional offense. That's why I think Oregon's a well-equipped enough team to be able to prepare for a team that's really good from 3-and-D.
Yeah, and I obviously joke about FAU, but they beat them with their length, and Oregon's going to have length the same way, better, 10 times better than FAU did. So Liberty's going to have to find a way to contain some of these guys who they don't really have the size for. I mean, McKay's a good coach. He'll figure out something, but I don't know if it'll be enough.
I think at the end of the day, it'll be a coaching battle because Dana Altman is one of the best coaches in the country. And then same with Richie McKay. He's probably the best coach in Conference USA.
Yeah.
And Dana Altman proves year in and year out that no matter what seed the Ducks are going to be in the NCAA tournament, they're going to make it far. And they've done that for a while now. So that'll be a fun matchup. I don't think Oregon rolls, but I do have the Ducks in this one. I just don't want anyone slandering Liberty thinking that they're going to get blown out. The Liberty does not get blown out, especially because of their slow pace of play. They play a lot like teams like Houston and Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And then now moving over to the Midwest. My favorite team going into March this season, number 5 Clemson taking on McNeese. I think realistically speaking, Clemson is that team that can kind of squeak out a run. However, no number 5 seed has ever won the NCAA tournament, per a stat I saw on TikTok 6 hours ago. What do we think that Clemson's ceiling is in this tournament, especially when you look at, once again, another favorable side of a bracket who wouldn't be surprised if Purdue chokes in March? They're kind of good at that. And then playing the winner of either Houston, SIU, Gonzaga, Georgia, whoever comes out of that game.
I really like Brad Brownell and Clemson. They're a really great squad. Last year, got to see them make it out of Memphis, and so you head into this matchup with McNeese, and McNeese is going to be a very popular upset pick in that first round as well. Everybody loves the Cowboys; they're fun to watch.
Everybody loves the Cowboys GA. Or the manager. Everybody loves that.
Oh, everybody loves Amir Khan. He's a really fun guy.
He got a brand deal.
2 of them,
Three of them.
Insomnia Cookies and Buffalo Wild Wings.
There's another one too. I forgot who.
Where is this at? Sorry, there was a big ass thunder and lightning that just right next to my house.
Just one of your flights gotten delayed.
I mean, yeah, I hope so.
I was about to say, Robbie will definitely be like flying home at 2 a.m.
It's saying I'm going to get home at 3 a.m. So, if you want to come pick me up, let me know.
But looking back into this McNeese team, I do feel like Clemson. If you're looking at what they've got, I feel like their highest chance to get beat before they head on to the regional is going to be in that first round with McNeese. I feel like McNeese is a team they've got high major guys that have shown the ability to compete with some really good teams, and I feel like they can compete with this Clemson team. And I feel like Purdue, I mean, you never know. Purdue's a great squad too. Braden Smith is a great guy, a great player. But if Clemson beats McNeese, I have them going to at least the Sweet 16.
Yeah, and then let's talk about Purdue a little bit because I like watching Purdue play this year. I'm very happy that I don't have to watch Zach Edey foul baiting highlights every single time Purdue comes on my TV. So what I mean by that is, how do we think that Purdue, what was their biggest advantage this offseason in moving out of the Zach Edey era of this team, starting to almost, I wouldn't say rebuild because they're a 4 seed in the tournament, but reload this team and get ready for another deep March push, obviously making a national championship last year? What was that key factor, whether it was Braden Smith or somebody else? What really set Purdue over the edge going into this year?
That key factor was telling Braden Smith to do whatever he wants with the ball, and that's exactly what he's done this season. I mean, he's averaging 16 a game, but you have to look at those 8.7 assists. This guy is a fun player to watch. I mean, if you let anything past your defense, he'll find it. And I mean, you've seen it this year. I mean, Trey Kaufman-Wren has really been the recipient of that all year as well. The Boilermakers, they've got a great squad. Only thing that keeps me from bringing them further into this tournament is just that history of Purdue not being able to make it far into March. And then also, I don't really know if they've got the ability to take down Clemson's big men. I feel like the Tigers do have some really, really good men in the center, but also High Point. In that first round against High Point, I really like High Point, but I don't know if they can compete with these high major teams like they were earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, with Purdue, I think they found a way to kind of adjust this year. I didn't think they would. I thought personally this was going to be a down year for them. But as he mentioned, Braden Smith has kind of taken over different, obviously, than how they played with Zach Edey. So, you know what? I mean, credit to them for adjusting and finding a new kind of, I guess, way to run their offense. And we'll see if they can kind of make the run.
And then moving a little bit further down the bracket, Isaac, we're getting back into mid-major talk.
Thank you. Goodness.
I better see a smile on that face, my boy.
You know what? While you mentioned
Wait, no, they're about to talk about. He's about to talk about Kentucky.
I was about to talk
I'm going
Kentucky.
to get out of here in a couple minutes, but I do want to bring up the fact I do not like Drake's matchup against Missouri. I think that's a tough draw for Drake, and I think I don't necessarily know if they're going to break the first round curse this year. We'll see.
Also, if Robbie does have to get out of here, we'll switch. We'll might have to take a quick break, but we can be right back on if you want to, Christian.
Okay, yeah, we'll just take a little commercial break. But yeah, really quick, Sun Belt, Fun Belt. We got number 14 Troy taking on a Kentucky team who I think is overseeded. I don't know metrics once again, but immediate first reaction is Kentucky's a 3 seed, really? So going into this game, what's kind of some of the numbers that y'all see with that? But then also, am I valid for thinking why is Kentucky a 3 seed?
I think you're completely valid in thinking that. I don't think it's. I think going into the SEC tournament, they were projected a 3 seed, but I think that loss to Alabama in the tournament, losing by almost 30, they lost 29. They lost by 29, 99-70. I think it really should have shoved them down into the upper 4 seed line, but a 3 seed is not out of the question for the Wildcats. The big thing for me is going to be that they're taking on probably the second best 14 seed in this tournament. I do like Lipscomb a little bit better than Troy, but Tatum Connerway was Sun Belt Player of the Year for the Trojans, and I feel like this Troy team has the build to do exactly what Oakland did last year, and they're going to get to go to Milwaukee and have this one, so it'll be up north again. So give me Kentucky, but give me Troy to give them all that they have, and it'll be a close game. But then again, I might just be picking Kentucky because it's safe to pick. Obviously, these upsets are always hard to determine.
I mean, if Lamont Butler plays, they beat them by 10 to 15.
Mm-hmm. Lamont Butler's availability will be crucial, I think, going into the tournament. After that Oklahoma game, many people thought he might be shut down for the season, but hearing some news that he looks to be back for the NCAA tournament, that will be crucial, especially if he will be the guy. He probably will be the man guarding Tatum Connerway at the point guard position. So that's going to be crucial if the Cats can get him.
Rob, do you need to hop off, or do you have a couple more minutes?
I got a couple more.
All right, good. We'll finish out this bracket, this side of the bracket, and then I'll send it over to a commercial, and then that way. Bottom of the bracket, we got number 15 Wofford taking on
Wofford.
I'm mispronouncing everybody's school today, and guess what? I don't care. Taking on number 2, good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. I think Tennessee has the easiest run in this tournament. You look at their side of the bracket as a whole, from 6 all the way down, I think Tennessee is going to run this table. Coming off of that loss to Florida, they just got out-depthed against Florida. Once again, I know you guys did not watch that game. You guys were a little preoccupied, I'm assuming.
I did a little bit. I caught a little bit of it before this one started. It was at noon, so we were able to catch a little bit of it.
Okay. But basically towards the tail end, in about 15 minutes left of game time, they just started getting out-depth. They were tired. That's what I saw. That's something me and my dad saw while we were watching the game is, all right, this is where Florida's depth, which is something that Isaac Edelman has brought up numerous times about what sets Florida apart, is their depth, and that's when it started to take over. But good old Rocky Top, in my opinion, they have, like I said, the easiest run in this tournament. What is your initial first reactions looking at that bottom half of the bracket?
I think I would agree. I'll have Tennessee, Wofford, and then UCLA and Utah State. I'll have that in Lexington next weekend. So, I wasn't exactly too thrilled to see the layout in Lexington next weekend, but Wofford, I feel like a little bit overseeded. I feel like they should be a 16 seed, but I got to give credit to Jackson Civils. I actually went to a rival high school from him back in high school. So got to give credit where credit is due to the champions of the SoCon. But yeah, Tennessee, I think they do have an easy run. UCLA at a 7 seed taking on Utah State. I think that'll be a fun game. But as soon as they get to the second round, Tennessee will have that chance to make their second ever Sweet 16. And I feel like Tennessee, unless they take on a Utah State, or unless they take on a Utah State that is on fire, which they definitely are not right now, I do have Tennessee heading on to take on a Illinois or Kentucky in the Sweet 16.
Robbie, you got anything?
I mean, I don't trust Tennessee to really make much of a run. Obviously, they'll get out of they'll beat Wofford, but if they get Utah State in round 2, I don't know. I mean, Tennessee has always been an ant to me, and it's just the thing with Tennessee that might give them a chance is their guards are really really veteran by this point. Pushing old. Time to get a job, but. I think if they can get past a Utah State or UCLA, they'll be all right. But I like Utah State. If they can beat UCLA, they got a really good head coach, Gerard Calhoun, who's going to probably, in my opinion, get looks for Utah this year. We'll see, but I like Utah State over Tennessee. But if Tennessee gets past them, then maybe this is their year. Who knows?
Will be interesting to see if the Volunteers do take on Kentucky in the Sweet 16. Kentucky's beaten them twice this year in the home and away series. So, they always say it's hard to beat a team 3 times. So Tennessee might have the opportunity to make their first ever Elite 8 this year. Not first ever Elite 8, sorry, their first ever Final 4. But especially with the run they're on. But you can't bet against history, and I feel like right now history is saying that the Volunteers are not looking too good going into this bracket, no matter how well they're seeded.
Isaac, be careful. I know you're already hated by the entirety of the Memphis fan base, and you just brought up Tennessee and a Final Four in the same sentence. I'm surprised the comments aren't flooded right now. What? But no, in all seriousness, I agree. Like, I think Tennessee is a program that has underperformed in March a couple times, especially in recently when FAU put that B2A a couple years ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee folds, but like Robbie said, I love their veteran guards. Chaz Lanier is on fire right now. And then
Zakai Ziegler is a really great point guard for them
Jamal
as well.
Meshack.
Mm-hmm.
They are just pesky. That's the biggest thing that I like about them is they are annoying to play against. Like, you could just tell during that game, the Florida players are just frustrated. We have to play these kids again. And that's something that I do think will definitely come into their advantage, especially against Wofford early, is they're just going to get out-athleted. And then if they get Utah State, once again, I think they're going to out-athlete. Their first real test will be if they face off against Kentucky. But, Robbie, I'm going to let you go. Before we go, I haven't had you on the show in a very long time. A lot of people maybe don't remember your social medias, despite me always retweeting you. Where can everybody find Robbie LaStella and his work?
Yeah, you can go find me on Twitter, R LaStella Report. Very potentially trying to make my way to Providence this week. Go check out some good hoops up there. So I might be able to, and if I do, stay tuned. I got an article coming out tomorrow with some stuff that AAC commish Tim Pernetti said. So if you're in the into the AAC side of things, check that out.
All right, Rob. I appreciate you as always, my friend. We are going to take a few-minute break. We're going to let Isaac get his technical difficulties situated while Robbie makes a smooth exit stage left. Robbie, have a safe flight, my friend.
Hopefully.
Text me when you land. I will be long asleep, but I will appreciate it when I wake up.
Cheers, man. Take care.
Dilly dilly. We'll be right back.
Rocky Top, Tennessee. Once two strangers climbed over.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the New Era Prep Show. I'm your host, Krisha Prosha, joined here with Isaac Bourne from Mid-Major Madness. Robbie just had to exit stage left. I saw that very clean dap up that y'all literally just had before. Can we rate what was that pop? 1 to 10, how would you rate that dap up? You're muted, by the way.
That was an easy 8.5 out of 10 for me and Robbie right there. That's, just the bond we formed this weekend, staying in a studio apartment together, is something I'll never forget.
I was about to say, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it with y'all boys. Dude. Here's the thing: what if you and Robbie would have been having to share a bed together because none of y'all are staying with me. We're not doing any of that. So it's either floor or bed for one of you guys. And I know if y'all tried to fight me or anything for it, I would easily overpower both of you. So I'm glad you guys got preferred living arrangements. But when I was just queuing that up, you were giving me a dirty look when I started playing one of my favorite songs of all time, Good Old Rocky Top. Can we talk about that for a second? What is the hate for Good Old Rocky Top, Mr. Bourne?
I'm from the state of Kentucky, and while I wouldn't consider myself a fan of any team. I feel like when that song comes on, good things don't really happen in the good old bluegrass state. And, just hearing that song brings back bad memories. And, I had to relive those.
I'm so sorry we had to relive those, but
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoky smoke on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bill.
Am I just here?
Once I had a girl.
Oh my gosh.
I had to absolutely maximize for full comedic effect.
I came on here to talk basketball, and I'm getting trolled. This might be the end for you, Christian.
Whoa! Hey, we are coworkers and collaborators with the Triple M's now. So,
okay.
Hey, you forgot about that, eh?
You're right. I forget.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought. This is my show. So now let's take things back to ball talk because unfortunately you don't want to listen to good music. We're now moving on to the West region, which, like I said earlier, Twitter has dubbed this the group of doom and despair. You look at this region, this is an absolute gauntlet of just elite talent all over. Starting off, number 1 Florida versus number 16 Norfolk State.
Norfolk? You mean Norfolk State out of the MEAC?
Sure. My initial reaction to this is, did you ever play Super Smash Bros. Growing up?
I was a dog at Smash.
Yeah, Florida is going to Falcon Punch Norfolk State. That is, we don't even need to talk about that game because.
But we are because I have to comment on one thing, and that, first of all, Norfolk State, the Spartans. I do feel like I told you Wofford should not have been a 15 seed. I think that's where Norfolk State needed to be. I feel like the Spartans have been one of the best teams in the country, one of the better teams in mid-major basketball for most of the season. I feel like you've got a guy on there. You've got some great guys on that team. And for them to fall to a 16 seed when Wofford was a mid at best SoCon team, meanwhile Norfolk State ran the MEAC all season, and they have to draw Florida. It just shows to me, and I feel like it's upsetting to say that, I feel like sometimes the committee isn't watching as much mid-major basketball as you'd want. And I mean, obviously 15, 16 seed line is so small that at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. But to us at Mid-Major Madness, I feel like it just kind of shows that if you look at the body of work Norfolk State has, they took down High Point earlier this year. They really ran the MEAC. They had a little bit of trouble with South Carolina State in that final, but I mean, for them to be a 16 seed and then 7 seed in the SoCon Wofford to get that 15 seed just kind of, to me, shows that the committee doesn't really care too much about the seedings that go after 13.
And definitely, but unfortunately for N State, they have the unfortunate pleasure of, even if they are a 15, all right, great, now you've drawn either Tennessee or St. John's. So either which way, all three, once again, the Falcon Punch analogy, it still unfortunately stands for any
I
of
feel
those.
like the Gators are the hottest team in the nation right now. I don't think anyone's taking down Florida, and I feel like I'm going to get a lot of fans from out at New Era Prep for good reason. I mean, this Florida team is really good. Walter Clayton Jr. is one of the best players I've seen at the guard position this season. Obviously, your guy at FAU, Elijah Martin, transferring to Florida and having a great year there as well. I really, really like this Florida team. They play fast, but also they take care of the ball really well, and I think you said it's a gauntlet out in the West, but I don't see a team getting past Florida, and I think I'd like to see them in the Final Four. But one thing you do see about these tournaments is any teams that have gone on runs in the past, it's a completely new playing field now. So if Florida can continue their play that they had winning the SEC tournament, I do have them coming out of this region, and I might even have them winning the national championship.
And that's honestly my analysis too. My bracket, shocker, Florida is running the table and they're winning the Natty. We spoke about Amart, we spoke about Walter. I definitely want to give Alex Condon some love too, because really watching him play basketball today, this is the first time I've watched from tip to buzzer a Florida game in a very long time. Literally since I think the last game was when they played Tennessee at home and beat them by 35. Dude, Alex Condon is so good. He is such a good big. He makes it hard to say that Michigan has the best bigs in the country right now. But I just wanted to chime that in on Florida a little bit because I was very impressed with them all around as a whole today. Once again, depth got the better of them over Tennessee. Their depth versus Tennessee's depth easily cleared. But now moving on to who Florida will possibly be playing in round 2, the winner of UConn versus Oklahoma. So for starters, I might be the biggest Dan Hurley hater on this app. I would love to see UConn get bounced first round. I think that this is a complete, like how we talked about Purdue possibly having a down year coming off of all of their losses this offseason. UConn lived that. They do not look like the same monster that they had when Donovan Clingan, Adama Sanogo, and all of those guys were out there. What is your full honest take on UConn and this upcoming matchup against a solid Oklahoma team?
You can't count the Huskies out in March. As much as I want to say that this UConn team isn't the same, because it's not. In 2014, witnessed a Shabazz Napier and Fletcher Boatwright led UConn team that was a 7 seed make their way all the way to the national championship and beat Kentucky in a hard-fought game. And so I cannot sit here and tell you that UConn as an 8 seed has no shot of winning it. I feel like out of any team in the West region of the bracket, I think that they have the highest chance of sending Florida home early. I think that they can go through Oklahoma pretty easily in that first round, especially since the Sooners are beat up as heck from the SEC tournament. And also a 9 seed for Oklahoma, if we're going to talk about it, might be a little too high.
I agree. Like you said, Oklahoma's dealing with a bunch of injuries. They're extremely banged up. They're a team who, once again, as it was going, I'm like, that's where they're seated. Like I definitely thought they were going to be I thought they were an 11. That's where I thought they were going to fall, as like an 11.
I thought they were a play-in team, to be honest. They were a play-in team, or at very least, like you said, just in those last 4 buys. But a 9 seed kind of gives me a little bit of flashbacks to FAU last season. A lot of people thought FAU was going to be an 11 seed last 4 buys, or possibly even in the play-in. But the committee had that decision made a little bit early, I'd say, and they got that 8-9 matchup just like Oklahoma did this year. So it's how it is, but Oklahoma was in the field nonetheless. So this here, they'll just have to take on a really difficult UConn team.
And then the thing that FAU was able to hang their hat on the entirety of the season last year was that win against Arizona. I'm going to be completely honest to all 300 viewers that are watching this stream right now. I have not watched a single millisecond of Oklahoma basketball up until a couple days ago. Does Oklahoma have one of those statement wins that was able to maybe propel them into a 9 seed or at least keep them in and around? Obviously, SEC play as a whole, 14 teams being selected into the field of 68. So it's not like they're playing a bunch of slaps all year. But do they have like a win over a strong SEC team that they're kind of able to hold their hat on?
Well, first of all, they're in the SEC and they're in the tournament, which means that they have a big win. I think every single team, not named South Carolina or LSU, but even they had some big wins in the SEC. Every single team in the SEC that's in this field has proven why they should be in the field because they have big wins. Look at early season. Oklahoma started out 13-0. Oklahoma did not lose a single non-conference game, and in their non-conference slate, they took on Arizona. They had Louisville. They beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma State. We're not going to talk about them. They beat Michigan in non-conference. Then they come into conference play. They start out 0-4, but then they start to pick things up. I think later in this season, they have a win against Missouri. They have a win against Mississippi State. They beat Georgia in the SEC tournament. I think they've got wins over the field. Obviously, they haven't beat an Auburn or a Tennessee or an Ole Miss, but that Mizzou win is really – I think Mizzou wins have really been the reason why a lot of these teams are in the field. I think Kentucky is rated so high because of that Mizzou win towards the end of the season. I feel like Mizzou gave Vanderbilt a quality win, which is why they're in the field now too. So I think you look at Oklahoma, they're in the SEC and they're in the tournament, which means that they have those quality wins to prove why they should be there.
And then we spoke about Memphis and Colorado State that game literally at the opener. For all the Memphis fans that are watching, because I sent it out to all the Memphis fans I'm connected with on social media, just rewind to the front because I knew Robbie had a little bit of time. So wanted to make sure that all three of us mid-major guys got to talk about Memphis in the front half. So now, skipping over that one to go to Maryland Grand Canyon. The Terps have been unlucky this season, man. Like, it feels like every single time I'm opening social media, Maryland has just gotten buzzer beater. These poor dudes have gotten like four to six buzzer beaters put on them from the middle of conference play to yesterday. Is there any equation that's like, listen, they went down to the wire against insert team, like this, that, and the other. Is that anything that goes into account? Like, because for them to lose so many close games and still get a 4 seed is something that I initially scratched my head on. But eventually they're going to come out of one of those games, and now seems like the perfect time to rise to the occasion.
I really like this Maryland team. They've not lost by double digits once this entire season. And, their only really terrible loss that I see is a loss at Washington. But, you look at their losses this season. They lost to Michigan State by 3 on a buzzer beater. They lost to Michigan. Just yesterday. They lost to Northwestern in overtime. They lost to Oregon by 4. Like you said, this team – very unlucky, but they're going up against a Grand Canyon team that is very high-powered. Obviously, I don't know if this Grand Canyon team is as good as last season. Ty and Grant Foster was the driver of last year's offense. A little bit of a down year because he started out the year injured, but I do like the depth that head coach Bryce Drew is bringing a little into the Lopes this season. I really wanted to see Utah Valley in the field for the first time, but you look at Jacoby Coles, Ray Harrison, Duke Brennan. This team is really deep and very Power 5-esque for a team that you don't typically see. I think you look at GCU, everyone thought they were going to run through the WAC this year, and they didn't run through the WAC, but they had those 3 losses. But I really like how Power 5-esque they look. They've got really good talent. They bring it from just about anywhere around the country. And they've also got really incredible depth. They've got 4 players averaging more than 10 points a game. And they've got 9 players averaging more than 7.8 a game. So this is a lineup where anyone can really cook at any time. And then you look at Maryland, and they look very similar as well. So it'll be interesting to see this matchup because I really like both of these squads. And also, shout out to former AAC member Selton Miguel on this Terrapins team. He has a chance.
That is future NBA logo, Selton Miguel.
And then also Jacoby Gillespie, former Belmont member as well. So I like this matchup, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard pick for me, but I do like Maryland winning in a close one because they've lost their fair share of close ones this year.
About to say they got to win one, but I'm going go Lopes, man. One just so I could just say go Lopes a million times. That's kind of my selling point, as you can tell. You go off of the numbers, I go off of the memes.
Wait, what do they do? They do like this. Well, okay, when I swam in college, we competed against GCU in a meet at Miami of Ohio, and before every race, they would put their hands up like this. They go Lopes up, and then throw it down when they dove off the blocks. So
that one like that. That one dude on TikTok would have a field day at one of those meets. Where are you from, gang? But then let's talk about Texas Tech UNC Dub.
Whoa! You skipped over probably my favorite matchup in the whole tournament. All right.
Moving the chains back over. Number 6 Mizzou taking on number 11 Drake. Drake is a team that Robbie can attest to this. Both of us have liked Drake pretty much since they beat the brakes off of FAU. Drake has looked incredible all season. I like watching Drake basketball this season. What has set the Bulldogs apart from everybody else? Because they've looked good all year. So what has been that consistent driving force for this team?
They play slower than any team in the nation, and that is confirmed by Ken Palm. This team averages 58.8 possessions per game. To put that in perspective, the number 1 team in the nation, Alabama, they average 74.9 possessions per game. That is 17 more possessions per game from Alabama. And Drake, it's not even close. Drake averages almost 2 less possessions than the team right above them, Wagner, in this pace of play statistic, and I really think that is going to show. Bennett Sturtz is such an incredible player. He comes from the D2 level from Northwest Missouri State, and one of the best shooters. He was the best shooter in the Missouri Valley Conference this year, and on top of that, he can pass the ball better than anyone in that conference as well, averaging just around 5 or 6 assists per game. I don't have the exact number, but Sturtz drives his entire team. Head coach Ben McCollum, he probably will not be a Bulldog for very long after this year. He's getting offers, or at least looks, from just about every team that needs a coach right now, and for good reason. He came in for the past 8 years. Ben McCollum has won a conference title with whatever team he's been coaching. 7 of those have been in Division II, and this year he does it in his first year in Division I. Give me the Bulldogs in this matchup over Mizzou. The Tigers are really, really hard to predict. Obviously, Mark Williams will be back, but despite that, I just cannot bet against the Bulldogs, especially because if they play the way that they want to, and they bring it to the end of the shot clock every single time, I really don't see a way that this team falls in the first round. And they really want that first NCAA tournament win since 1971.
Now can we talk about Texas Tech UNC Dub? Is it fine?
Fine.
All right. Tech has looked great all year. Definitely one of the stronger teams coming out of a Big 12. We spoke about it last time. Big 12 was kind of underwhelming this year. I thought there was going to be more oomph power with the Big 12. Unfortunately, there really wasn't outside of Houston. But Tech was a consistently solid team all year. They're taking on a very good UNC Dub team. I rock with the Seahawks, man. I have a couple old teammates who are swimmers out at UNC Dub. Shout out to the Sapowski family. I better see them on the broadcast, rocking the Speedos and having a good time, because Noah loves to run around school campuses in a Speedo. He did that a couple times. But Tech versus UNC Dub. What's your immediate reactions and thoughts going into this game?
I really like Texas Tech this season. I feel like they're a team that I feel like when you look at teams in this tournament, one trend you see every year with successful teams is teams that don't turn the ball over a lot and teams that don't make too many mistakes in general. I think it's really hard. It's really hard for a team. Yeah, Robbie just texted me. He left his computer right here and I didn't even notice. So, Robbie, you can come back and grab your computer. That'd be really nice.
I was about to say, I'm not holding onto your computer, little bro.
But where were we? Oh yeah, I really like the Red Raiders.
Or Stella rudely interrupt us.
Yeah, you might have. By the way, you might have to text him because I'm doing it on my phone. But the Red Raiders, great coach. Oh, sorry, I just went on. Robbie just called me in the middle of a broadcast. So unprofessional. Dude. But
this kid,
Grant McCaslin, he comes from North Texas, and I mean, you saw how well he did with the mean green, and so Texas Tech, they've got JT Toppin and UNC Wilmington. While they're a great team, they haven't shown the ability to beat teams better than them. So I'll be interested to see how that matchup goes. But at the end of the day, I've got the Red Raiders rolling, and I do feel like it's going to be a fun one between them and Drake if Drake can make it past the higher seeded Missouri.
Robbie wants to know, I was listening. Robbie wants to know if you could drop it off at the airport, DFW. You can't hear me? Hello? Can you hear me now? Hold on. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Hello, Pookie. I didn't realize that I was muted while texting LaStella. He wants to know, can you drop it off at the airport? DFW.
We'll figure that out after this, but I probably can. But
all right, we'll move this along quick. Last game I do want to really talk about and hone in on because I'm going to ask you about a couple bracket busters that you realistically think can push. Start thinking about that now. But this is the game that I'm dubbing the overrated bowl. Kansas versus Arkansas. Why are either of these teams in the tournament? I'm a firm believer that the only reason that Arkansas is playing in this game or is playing in the tournament is because of John Calipari. Obviously, I love John L. Davis to pieces, but Arkansas is not a tournament team. I don't care what anybody says. Arkansas is not a tournament team. But with that being said, what is your first reactions on, in my opinion, an overrated Arkansas team versus an overrated Kansas team?
I don't think Kansas is overrated. I think a 7 seed is pretty much where they should have fallen when it comes to how their season has gone. They've had a really up and down year. I feel like coming into this year, everyone thought that they were going to be really good, and I mean they are a good team still. But I think the biggest disappointment for them has been putting together AJ Storr and Hunter Dickinson. Just hasn't been the greatest duo, and AJ Storr having a really incredible down year after going off for Wisconsin last year. And that's really been the story. I think you look at their recent wins, it's been it's been tough for them. Starting off the season, they started hot, but I think they can compete with any team in this tournament. And I firmly believe that because they brought it to overtime. They brought it to overtime against Houston. They played Houston close twice, and I think that they can. Like I said, I think they can compete with anyone. Meanwhile, Arkansas, it's a weird situation here because I mean you look at their conference play. They started off 0-5, then they beat Georgia, they lose to Oklahoma, and then they go into Kentucky and beat Kentucky in what was possibly one of the greatest revenge games ever for a head coach. And since then they've been really off and on. I mean they lose against Alabama, they lose against Texas A&M, they lose against Auburn. Those were good losses, but then they've got that incredibly bad loss at South Carolina by 19 that really, for me, solidified that they might not be in the field. But then they finish off the season 4-1. They beat Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and then South Carolina, and then they lose to Ole Miss in the SEC tournament. I think that this team barely makes it in just because of the fact that they're in the SEC and they have quality wins in the SEC. I think a Kentucky win and a Mizzou win, we talked about it with Oklahoma earlier.
you don't have to beat the best teams in the SEC because the middle of the pack teams of the SEC are still some of the best teams in the country. And they've beaten Kentucky and they beat Kentucky, they beat Georgia, they beat Mizzou, and that's enough. And I think that's just how the SEC is. It frustrates people this year to no end, and I completely get it. But you look at this conference, and it's the best conference that's ever been seen in college basketball. And when you've got a team that's towards the bottom, but they've got wins against the middle, and that's enough.
And that's the thing, especially with SEC basketball as a whole this year. This is something that literally everybody's been saying since conference play started, is we knew there was going to be so many SEC teams in this field because of how stacked and how loaded the conference is. Like, even a mid-tier Mizzou, and if they were in any conference, you got to figure they're winning that thing. Like, same with Arkansas, same with Ole Miss. Like, those are good basketball teams through and through. And I do think, despite the fact of like the college football playoff, I don't want to see a million SEC teams playing. Like, I want to see a bunch of mid-majors. They're the most deserving, easily. The SEC as a whole is the most deserving because of the level of elite talent they put out on a nightly basis. Would you be surprised if an SEC team, even a mid-tier SEC team, could beat the Hornets? Like, I would honestly put money on Auburn if they played against the Charlotte Hornets.
All right, that's a little crazy. I don't think that at all. I think
you've seen how ass the Hornets are this year, right? Though
I've seen how bad the Hornets are, but also you've got to think all of their players were the best players or one of the best players on their college teams, no matter how bad they are. And I mean, these NBA college basketball comparisons, I feel like they're just a little silly because you've got professional players that have been shown to be the best in college or best in their leagues. And while they might be the worst group of those professional players, you've got a team like Mizzou or Kentucky or Texas A&M towards the middle of the SEC, and half of those guys on that team are not going pro.
That is true. Last thing I do want to talk about with you, or last kind of two things. I'm going to get you out of here quick. That way we can DoorDash a computer to Papa LaStella. Who are your bracket busters going into this field of 68? Because there's a couple teams that I'm looking at where it's maybe they have a favorable seed of where they're able to make a run, or how are these guys so underrated? There's a couple teams that I'm looking at, but I want to hear from you first.
I think what's cool, what I'll do is I'll run through the seed lines. I'll run through the best 16 seed that has the highest chance of winning, 15, and I'll run all the way through the 12 seed, if that's all right.
Okay.
Out of the 16 seeds, I like Norfolk State, but they're going against Florida, so I'll choose SIU Edwardsville here. I don't think SIU Edwardsville has any chance of beating Houston, but I also think that if there's a team that's going to fall in that first round as a 1 seed, it's going to be Houston because of the fact that they play so slow, and sometimes their ability to just play to the end of the shot clock does not give them the ability to take huge leads on teams. And I think SIU Edwardsville, if a guy like Rayshon Taylor can get hot, I think that there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that SIU Edwardsville wins this one in a close overtime game. So give me them as my favorite 16 seed. Out of the 15 seeds, I really like Robert Morris. I really like Bryant. All these 15 seeds are really solid. But give me Omaha over St. John's. The Mavericks had an incredible season in the Summit League this year, and they started off non-conference not very well, but getting healthy at the right time, and then now they go up against the St. John's team that is really good out of the Big East, and they're having one of their best seasons of all time. It's going to have to be it's not going to have to be a situation where Omaha outcoaches St. John's, because you can't outcoach Rick Pitino, and I think he's proved that time and time again. But Omaha has the length, they have the ability, they have the athleticism to be able to compete with one of these 2 seeds, and I'd be interested to see how a high-power Omaha team can play against St. John's. Now, if we move on to this 13 seed line, man, I really like all these teams, but Grand Canyon's a great team. I really like High Point. Christian, if you're going to give me a team that I feel like can win out of this 13 seed line, I'm going to have to go Grand Canyon. Even though I'm picking Maryland over them, I do like the Lopes. Like I said, they've got that Power 5-esque lineup. They've got great transfers. They've got Ty and Grant Foster, who was an All-American last year. This is a great Grand Canyon squad. Not their best ever. I think last year was a little bit better for them, but where they did pull off that upset as a 12 seed. But I feel like it's 13 seed. They have the best chance out of the 13 seeds. And now we'll move down to the 12 seeds, where I think there's just so many good teams on this 12 seed line. I really like McNeese. I really like Colorado State. I really like UC San Diego, but I feel like the team to win it all out of these 12 seeds is easily going to be Colorado State. I think even going into this one, the Rams probably have the advantage over Memphis, not because anything Memphis has done. I think Memphis is an incredible squad, but with Tyrese Hunter looking like he's going to be out for the season with that broken foot, Nick Clifford for Colorado State has really propelled this Rams team to what is now a 10-game win streak, and they just won the Mountain West, Christian. I really don't see a way that this Colorado State team doesn't win a couple games in the tournament, because they are much better than that 12 seed line shows. And I think they're going to show that because they're going up against a Memphis team that hasn't faced Power 5 competition since December. And so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of a couple teams that you didn't say. I like UC San Diego. Obviously, that matchup against Michigan is hard, but I do think UC San Diego is one of the hotter teams coming into the tournament. Obviously, Michigan is too, but I think we've seen crazier things happen in March. Barely Dickinson beat Purdue that one time.
Oh, wait, I forgot the 14 seed line. I like Lipscomb over Iowa State. I think that's a pretty simple one. Lipscomb, the metrics love the Bisons, and give me Lipscomb over Iowa State. I might even have them Lipscomb over Iowa State in my bracket just because Lipscomb looks so good on metrics, and for good reason. They're a great offense.
Trying to give a little looks. Nobody out of the East. I think Georgia could possibly make a push. Unfortunately, I don't think they have enough firepower to take on Houston and come out on top. But and then going into Selection Sunday, 5 and 12, Clemson and McNeese State were kind of my sleepers in this tournament. Unfortunately, one of them is gone literally by Friday morning. And then give me the Lopes, baby. I'm all in on the Lopes. Lopes to the Final Four, Isaac. But with that being said, who is your Final Four? If you had to pick based off of this right now, who do you think going into the Final Four, who's playing in the Natty and who's winning it?
Christian, I haven't even made a bracket yet.
Neither have I.
All right, if we're talking the Final Four,
I'm giving this poor young man an aneurysm, and I'm sorry.
Everybody's really high on Duke out of the East region, and for good reason. But I don't know how healthy Cooper Flagg's going to be coming back. So out of the East, give me Wisconsin. I really like the Badgers. If they play well, this is a great squad. Give me Wisconsin out of the East. I think now looking at the Midwest, I really want to be the homer pick and go with Kentucky. And I really want to go with a team like Houston. I think I might do that. I think Houston is a really great team. So give me Houston out of the Midwest. Out of the West, it's Florida. I don't think there's any question. Only team I feel like I can give Florida a run out of that West is Colorado State. I'm genuinely serious. I think Colorado State or maybe UConn can give Florida that run because Colorado State they've been on a great run. And then you look at the South region, and it's a really, really tough one for me. I want to say Auburn because they've looked dominant all season, but as of recent, you started to see some chinks in the armor. Bruce Pearl's an incredible coach. Christian, this is a hard one. The South is really, really good. If I had to choose an upset pick out of the South, I really like Creighton as an upset pick. Give me Michigan State.
Okay.
Because January, February, Izzo. That's what John Rothstein says. I really like the Spartans and they've shown that they can beat good teams They've also shown they can lose to good teams. They lost to Memphis earlier this season, but Izzo has his teams ready always by March, no matter where they're seated, and they always go decently far.
If I had to give mine, I'm gonna piggyback with you on the Michigan State pick. I really like that pick. Duke will piss it away at some point, and we all know that. I don't want to take another 2 seed, and I don't want to piggyback off of you, but if I had to, I would say roll Badge again. I think Wisconsin has a better chance of making it out as opposed to Alabama. So Michigan State, Wisconsin. Give me Tennessee coming out of the Midwest. I don't like anybody else that they play. Memphis fans, I'm sorry. I know I just mentioned Tennessee with the Final Four, but when you look at who they're playing, I don't think it's any comp. Really.
And Kentucky's super depleted. I would go with Kentucky if they were healthy, but they're super depleted right now with Jackson Robinson on the bench. And if they right now at the moment, there's no healthy point guards. Kerr Kriisa's done for the season. Travis Perry might be out as well, and then Lamont Butler is questionable. So
yeah, basically for me, this one was a toss-up between Tennessee and Clemson. I'm going to go with Tennessee because I think that we said it earlier, they're just going to out-athlete. And then out of the West, the region of doom and despair, Florida. So I got Florida, Tennessee, roll Badge, and go green.
And I think Florida, and it's what's funny to me is I know that Florida, when everyone picks Florida and they're the favorite to win it all right now, maybe Duke might have it as well, but they're the type of team that does lose it sometime in the Sweet 16, and then I'm interested to see if they can live up to their high expectations right now.
Well, listen, I will confirm this because while we're on the show, before we got on, I texted my good friend, number 15, Elijah Martin. I shot him a congratulations text. He texted me back a smiley face and a gator emoji. So vibes are high in Gainesville right now. Definitely wanted to give Amart another shout out. I'm going to give a shout out to all my boys. Coach Dusty, Vlad, Elijah, Nelly, and Nick, congratulations on making the big dance, gentlemen. More than earned, more than deserved, and I am happy for y'all boys. For everybody on these 68 teams, congratulations. Isaac, I'm pretty much done. Do you have anything else?
That's all I've got for now. I feel like, talked bracket a lot right now, so it's gonna take some time to cool down. Maybe I got a 4-hour drive back to Arkansas tonight, and then I've got class at 9:00 in the morning. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, you have fun with that, my boy, and more importantly, remember to drop that dang MacBook off.
Oh yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll see how that goes,
but Isaac, same thing like Robbie. Plug the socials before we start to wrap this thing up. Where can everybody find Isaac Bourne and his great work?
All right. Well, if you want to find my Mid-Major Madness work, just midmajormadness.com and /Isaac Bourne, and you can find me there, or on Twitter on X where I put all my stuff. It'll just be Isaac Bourne _ over there. And besides that, you can find me on. I've been on a couple podcasts recently with Mid-Major Madness on Spotify. So if you want to go to the Anything But Mid podcast, Ian Sachs and I try to do a weekly episode where sometimes we've interviewed coaches, we've previewed conferences, and that's always a fun time over there. So check us out on Spotify.
Isaac, I appreciate you. I'm getting angry texts from Robbie saying no more shout outs. I'm gonna let you go. Get him that dang computer. Hope to see you at one of these games. Who knows what'll happen? Crazy things have happened. We'll
see y'all in Lexington, and then I'll see y'all in San Antonio.
Sounds good. Make sure you follow Isaac for all of his stuff. And then, as always, go Lopes, baby.
Well,
thank you, Isaac.
See y'all later.
That was Isaac Bourne from Mid-Major Madness. Him and Robbie were live from the AAC tournament. Guys, make sure that Robbie gets his computer back, please, because I'm tired of getting those angry texts. Go follow Isaac and Robbie. They've put out some great stuff over the weekend. Once again, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it out to Dallas. Some personal things happened. Had to stay home for the weekend. Everything's good. We're good. great stream, guys. I appreciate everybody for tuning in on a Sunday evening. There are so many better things that y'all could have been doing on your Sunday evening. There are so many better, possible, credible basketball sources, especially in the collegiate basketball scenes, than listening to me talk. Obviously, Robbie and Isaac are two of the smartest gentlemen I know, but appreciate everybody for tuning in. We might have a stream tomorrow, starting to try to schedule things for the next couple days. I'm trying to see what my schedule's looking like for the next couple days, because who knows when I'm traveling, where I'm traveling. But with that being said, as always, follow New Era Prep on social medias. Follow me on Instagram, cprosha.photo. Follow me on Twitter, cp_photo2004 for all of my great work. And once again, as always, follow the New Era Prep team because they're pretty good at what they do. And I got the best team in the world. Appreciate everybody for giving me the best job in the world, letting me yap and you guys listen. That is 6 of the 7 days this week. We had streams for well over an hour. So once again, appreciate the constant support. Hope everybody has a great rest of your night. For New Era Prep, I'm Krisha Prosha. Roll Lopes. Have a good one.
Wish that I was on a rocky top down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bill. Once I had a girl on Rocky Top, half bear, the other half cat. While as I make but sweet ass soda pop, I still dream about that. Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee.